For this technique, you'll need a couple of Starburst sprays. I'm using Voodoo Violet and Marigold Yellow, a piece of plain white cardstock, some water in a spray bottle, and a couple of plain white tissues. To begin with, spritz the cardstock with water. Make sure that you've sprayed all over the card, but not too heavily. Then I like to start with the darkest colour, in this case it's the Voodoo Violet. Just spray randomly, don't add too much though, otherwise you won't get any colour variation in your project. Then use the second colour, which is the lightest. In this case it's my Marigold. Once the cardstock is covered, then take that plain white facial tissue, or go ahead and use a plain paper towel. Press this over the top of your spritzed cardstock and pat down quite firmly. We're trying to absorb some of that colour and some of that liquid. Remove the tissue. You could even use this for another project, it's so pretty. What you're left with is a quite subtle background that looks absolutely fantastic on a great number of projects. You could go for a more random look than I've made, but for this project it's not really going to matter. As you can see, you've retained that beautiful sparkle on the piece, and it's really quite subtle. The colours haven't bled into each other, that's why I've patted with the tissue so that they're kept quite separate. And it's going to make a really interesting background for my card. All I've done here is I've grabbed a stamp and stamped onto my background in VersaFine Onyx Black. This is what I've made with my Subdued Sprays background. I've mounted the panel onto some basil cardstock and added a few little flowers as an embellishment. I've also coloured in parts of the central image and added a little diamond glaze for dimension. You can see how subtle those sprays turn out. Even though I used two really strong dark colours, by the time you've patted some of that off, you get a beautiful subdued background, which is why I'm calling it Subdued Sprays. It takes the colour really well from both the pencils, and these were watercolour pencils that I used, and the ink. And by the time you've stamped over it, it doesn't look at all patchy like it did when we began. And that's my finished card.